Captain America has been one of the most recognizable superheroes in American culture since his comic book debut in 1941. Created during World War II, at a time where the world was in turmoil, he stood as a beacon of hope, embodying the core of American values of integrity, justice, and perseverance. Cap's influence extended far beyond comic books, though. During World War II, he represented American patriotism and the fight against tyranny. As times changed, so did his stories. In the 1960s and 70s, his comics began reflecting the complexities of American society. The Secret Empire arc, for example, questioned government corruption, reinforcing that Captain America's loyalty was never to authority, but to the people and the ideals the country was meant to uphold. Later, in Civil War, he famously opposed the Superhuman Registration Act, proving that true patriotism isn't about blind obedience. It's about standing up for freedom and justice, no matter the cost. With such a rich legacy in comics, bringing Captain America to the big screen was no easy task. Translating his timeless ideals into a modern cinematic universe required a careful balance of authenticity and reinvention. Marvel Studios successfully accomplished that with Captain America: The First Avenger. At a time when superhero movies were evolving beyond simple action flicks, Marvel took a bold approach, telling Steve Rogers' story through the lens of a World War II film. Unlike many MCU entries that leaned heavily into humor and spectacle, The First Avenger had a more grounded, emotional tone, making Captain America's origin feel both classic and fresh. One of the biggest concerns leading up to the film was casting. Chris Evans, already known for playing Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, faced skepticism from fans who weren't sure he could embody Steve Rogers' selflessness and moral strength. But from the moment he appeared on screen, it was clear that he was the perfect choice. Evans didn't just play Captain America, he became him. He captured every aspect of Steve's character, from his unwavering sense of justice to his deep sadness of a man willing to sacrifice everything for his country and his friends. His portrayal made Cap feel human, not just another superhero in a costume. But The First Avenger wasn't just about Steve's rise, it was about sacrifice. Unlike other origin films that end with a hero's triumph, Cap's first major outing ends with him crashing into the Arctic, choosing to sacrifice himself to save millions of people. The tragedy of waking up decades later, realizing he had lost everyone he loved, added an emotional weight that shaped his entire journey in the MCU. Then came the Avengers in 2012, when Captain America had to prove himself in a modern world. While Tony Stark, Thor, and Bruce Banner all brought immense power and intelligence to the team, Cap brought something just as important: leadership. He wasn't the strongest or the smartest, but he was the heart of the team, the one who could unite them when everything fell apart. His dynamic with Iron Man, in particular, set up one of the most compelling relationships in the MCU, with Steve's unwavering morals clashing with Tony's pragmatism. This strong foundation carried over into Cap's solo films, culminating in one of the most well-received trilogies in the entire MCU. When discussing the greatest trilogies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America consistently ranks at the top, rivaled only by Guardians of the Galaxy and possibly Spider-Man. What set Captain America's trilogy apart was its remarkable consistency in quality, storytelling, and character development. Each installment built upon the last, evolving Steve Rogers from a selfless soldier into a leader, navigating the complexities of modern warfare, espionage, and ideological conflict. Unlike some MCU trilogies that stumbled in their final entries, Iron Man 3 and Ant-Man Quantumania, every Captain America film delivered a compelling and cohesive narrative. While The First Avenger introduced audiences to Steve Rogers and his wartime origins, it was the Winter Soldier that redefined the franchise. Rather than sticking to traditional superhero tropes, the film embraced the tone of a political thriller, drawing inspiration from classic espionage films like 3 Days of the Condor. It tackled themes of government surveillance, corruption, and moral ambiguity, making it one of the MCU's most mature and thought-provoking entries. Instead of facing a typical villain, Cap was forced to confront his past and fight for the soul of his best friend, making the stakes deeply personal. Not only that, but the Winter Soldier is commonly known to have the best fight scenes in the entire MCU. By the time Civil War arrived, Captain America's trilogy had transformed into something much larger than a single hero's journey. The film served as both the culmination of Steve Rogers' arcs and a major turning point for the entire MCU. What made Civil War stand out wasn't just the spectacle of hero versus hero combat, but the depth of its conflict. Unlike most superhero battles that revolve around good versus evil, this was a clash of ideologies, with both sides, Captain America and Iron Man, making valid arguments. Steve's unwavering belief in personal freedom and distrust of the government put him at odds with Tony Stark, whose guilt and pragmatism drove him to support the Sokovia Accords. The fallout from this division reshaped the MCU, leaving lasting consequences that extended far beyond the film's runtime. A major factor in the trilogy's success was its commitment to grounded, visceral action. Unlike many other MCU films, Cap's fights were expertly choreographed and rooted in realism. His battles weren't just about brute strength, they showcased his military training, strategic thinking, and adaptability in real-time combat. This emphasis on close-quarters fighting not only set the Captain America films apart, but also solidified Steve Rogers as one of the most formidable fighters in the MCU. The iconic elevator fight scene, the hallway fight scene against Bucky Barnes, and the final Civil War showdown between Steve and Iron Man all go down as some of the best fight scenes in the entire franchise. Steve's fighting style combined boxing, judo, and parkour, making his movements both fluid and devastating. His shield wasn't just a defensive tool. Every fight fight was designed to reinforce that Captain America wasn't just strong, he was a soldier who knew how to fight smart. But even the greatest soldiers eventually lay down their weapons. By the time Avengers Endgame concluded, Steve Rogers had cemented his legacy as one of the MCU's most iconic heroes. His journey was defined by sacrifice, resilience, and a massive sense of duty. Yet, after a lifetime of battles, his story reached its natural conclusion when he made the choice to step away from the battlefield, passing his shield and the mantle of Captain America to Sam Wilson. Steve's decision to return to the past and live a life with Peggy Carter was one of the most debated moments in the film. Some saw it as a perfect conclusion, a well-deserved reward for a man who had given everything for others, but on the other hand, some fans felt like his decision was out of character. Steve has always been about fighting for the present, standing up for what was right no matter the cost. Leaving behind his friends, particularly Bucky Barnes, raised questions about whether this was the ending he truly deserved. These debates only highlighted how deeply his character resonated with audiences. Passing the shield to Sam was another pivotal moment. Steve had fought alongside Sam for years, witnessing his courage, loyalty, and belief in doing what's right. When it came time for Steve Rogers to pass the mantle of Captain America, many fans were split over whether the shield should go to Sam or his lifelong friend Bucky Barnes. Bucky, after all, was the one who shared a deep personal bond with Steve, having fought alongside him during World War II. He was also a former super soldier, making him a natural fit in many ways. The emotional weight behind the decision to pass the shield to Sam rather than Bucky made a lot of people furious. Some felt the mantle of Captain America should go to Bucky, the soldier who had been with Steve through thick and thin, and who had also been on his own redemption arc. However, Steve's choice reflects a deeper understanding of what the mantle of Captain America truly represents. While Bucky's journey of redemption was still ongoing, and his inner turmoil as the Winter Soldier was something Steve fully understood, Sam's unwavering belief in justice and his proven track record for standing up for what's right made him the natural successor. Sam may not have had the super soldier serum, but he embodied the very essence of what Captain America stood for. But there were some problems with Sam's story. The decision wasn't really the mistake. The mistake was how they handled Sam's character after Avengers Endgame. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, though important in Sam's arc, struggled with addressing the full scope of the challenges Sam faced in accepting the mantle. His struggle was not just with the expectations of the world, but with his own internal conflict, compounded by larger societal issues surrounding race and identity. While the show did attempt to explore these complexities, some fans felt the character was underdeveloped in the series, not fully reflecting the powerful role Sam was stepping into. For example, at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam gave a speech about how a certain group of flag smashers weren't terrorists. The problem is that they actually were, and Steve Rogers probably would have never done this publicly. Sam made a lot of controversial decisions that Steve Rogers would not have made, and while some of them definitely felt justified, others not so much. Regardless of the mixed reception of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a lot of people were excited for his solo film. After everything Sam Wilson went through to earn the mantle of Captain America, a lot of people were eager to see him truly shine in Captain America: Brave New World. This was supposed to be his moment, the film that cemented him as the new face of the franchise, proving once and for all that Steve Rogers made the right decision. Instead, what we got was a disappointing mess of a movie, bogged down by a choppy script, uninspired fight scenes, and lackluster villains. From the start, Brave New World felt directionless. The writing failed to give Sam a compelling arc. The story had potential, especially considering the political and social themes set up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but instead of building on that, the script fumbled its execution. The fight choreography was choppy, the editing was all over the place, and key moments that should have been impactful fell flat due to poor storytelling. Then there were the action sequences, one of the most important parts of any Captain America movie. Steve Rogers' trilogy set a high bar for hand-to-hand combat in the MCU, particularly in the Winter Soldier, where every fight felt raw, strategic, and grounded in reality. Fans expected Brave New World to follow suit, showcasing Sam's unique fighting style and his mystery of the wings and shield. Instead, the action was ruined by bad camera work, excessive quick cuts, and disoriented shaky cams. The fight scenes lacked the intensity and creativity that made the previous Captain America movies stand out, making it clear that the choreography wasn't given the attention it deserved. The CGI didn't help either. Marvel has had its fair share of CGI misfires in recent years, and Brave New World was no exception. Instead of blending practical effects with digital enhancements, the movie leaned too heavily on poorly rendered CGI, making even basic action scenes look artificial. For a character like Sam, whose combat style should be a mix of aerial acrobatics and close-quarter combat, this was a huge letdown. On top of that, the movie completely dropped the ball on its antagonists. A great superhero film needs a compelling villain, someone who challenges the hero on a deeper level. Brave New World gave us, well, no one worth remembering. The main villain was generic, underdeveloped, and lacked any real presence. There was no meaningful ideological conflict, no personal stakes, just a series of forgettable bad guys thrown into the story to give Sam someone to fight. Compared to villains like the Winter Soldier, Baron Zemo, and even the Red Skull, this felt like a massive step down. Overall, as a movie, Brave New World wasn't even that bad. In fact, I actually didn't hate it while watching it in the theaters. The problem was, every time I watched this movie, I compared it to the first three. At the end of the day, this is the fourth installment in the sequel, and it's been advertised as such. The bar was already extremely high, and it failed in every aspect. One of the biggest problems was that the movie was marketed around Red Hulk, except the entire plot of the movie was that Thaddeus Ross Ross was secretly becoming the Red Hulk, and no one was supposed to know about it. So in essence, the entire plot was already revealed, and there was really no stakes for the film. It's not that Sam Wilson wasn't the right choice to be Captain America. He absolutely was. The problem was that Marvel didn't do him justice. The groundwork has already been laid out for an incredible story, but Brave New World wasted that potential, delivering a forgettable movie that did little to elevate its hero. Sam deserved better, and so did the fans.